ball, RJ.
The first few minutes, I thought the next 20, 25 were really good and moved the ball well, made plays for each other, battled. I mean, Culver inside as good as tough of a challenge as anyone in there, and I thought the guys battled him really well and made good plays.
That was Lon Kruger talking on Saturday. Again, it's not it's incremental. It's baby steps. OU gets to 18 and 11. And as we've said, with what they have left, they now just have a couple games left. They will play coming up, tomorrow, and then they will play on Saturday against Kansas. Kansas State is what's left, by the way. Probably not expected to win either of those games, which would drop them to 18 and 13. Still expect them to get a win in the Big 12 tournament. Lost in the second game. 19 and 14. Believe it or not, should get it done. 19 and 14. In fact, if you believe our man, and I had it up and I lost it, Joe Lunardi from ESPN. He has OU as a 10 seed, which, again, you're starting to teeter on the end of it, but 19 and 14 seems like a logical finish, and that should be enough to get into the tournament. Do you agree, RJ?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I think you got to beat Kansas State or Kansas in one of those 19 wins. I don't think just 19 wins get you into the tournament. I think you got to get yourself somebody's skin to show when you go to the committee and say, look, we beat Kansas State, we beat Kansas, we should be in. But even so, we said that like last year, I think, that they needed to win a Big 12 tourney game. They ain't do that. They still got in. So, like, I'm not exactly sure what it takes to get in with this committee, but with all the different metrics that they're using to basically help hold up this men's basketball team that we're all looking at, that I feel like if we were talking about this in college football playoff terms, we'd be talking about the eye test and what the defense is like. And then it would be the opposite of what Oklahoma was facing last year, which is they can score, they can't stop anybody. Well, this team can stop people, they can't score. And I'm not, even if they get in, what are we looking at? A first round out as a 10 seed?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would say this, their RPI actually, I had it here. Let me go. Their RPI was 36. Their net RPI is 42. The problem is they're 3-9 against Tier 1 teams. You'd like to get a little better there, but they have some decent metrics. Their strength of schedule is 13. There's some decent metrics, and also too. Now, granted, this was about a week ago. We had heard this from Joe Lunardi. There isn't this big push of teams outside making a push to get in.
Oh, the bubble teams are awful. The bubble teams are awful.
Yeah.
They're all garbage. It's bad. I feel like we're talking about OU in the way that we might talk about a middling SEC football team. I'm serious. Like, I'm thinking, I'm like, is Oklahoma like the Mississippi State of SEC football last year? Or even the A&M? Because it's like, it's a strength of schedule thing that you're talking about, right? With number 13, I'm going, well, they play a pretty, that's what we're saying. We're saying that the conference is really good. Because the conference is really good, you should let us in with the mediocre record. And I don't know. I just think that they should be able to beat the class of the conference before we start talking about them as legitimately getting in at 19 and 14.
Well, RJ, you're doing a good job on Sundays.
Thank you, sir.
And I've listened in, and it's a good show. I got to tell you, it works. I wanted to mention though, a year ago today, the Sooners were in just a terrible tailspin. Basketball team's in a terrible, and they never mustered what it took to win 3 out of 4 at any point past mid-January last year. They never got any of that done. So I respect that. Whether Lon Kruger gets most or all of the credit or whatever, I respect that they pulled themselves out of a terrible situation this season. They've won 3 of 4. Kansas at the Lloyd Noble, Kansas has better personnel, but that's a winnable game. I've seen Kansas lose a bunch of games they shouldn't lose.
Winnable for Oklahoma because they're at Lloyd Noble. I mean, I guess I could follow you there. I'm not a real big home court advantage guy when we're talking about basketball at Lloyd Noble because it's never sold out. But I'll grant you that it's easier to win against Kansas at Lloyd Noble than it is to win at the Phog, because it seems nearly impossible to do it up there.
Yeah. Either one seems likely. Hey, while we got you here, we do want to obviously talk Combine. Your thoughts on it? Look, obviously, as far as working out, Kyler didn't. We already knew that Hollywood and that Rodney Anderson weren't going to do it. Your thoughts so far from the Combine?
I mean, we didn't see hardly any OU players perform in the skill stuff, and I know that's all, what we want to see, and it'd be impressive. I mean, I think it's Cody Ford, Drew Samia, and Bobby Evans, right? And Austin Seibert, I guess, we'll throw him in there. But the guys that you wanted to see were hurt or didn't want to do it, right? But we do know that Kyler Murray said, 1, I'm going to throw at Pro Day, and 2, for all of these folks that are going, yes, finally, I get to see what Flash looks like in real life, he said he's going to run too. So now NFL Network is headed down there to the only pro day that matters. So that's a win for you if you're Oklahoma, because all of these guys that wouldn't necessarily get looks are going to get looks now because Kyler Murray's going to be throwing them passes or be around. So guys like Carson Meyer, for instance, that didn't get an invite, right? And remember, this is the place where Jeff Badette earned a spot on a practice squad because he dropped 4.27 and people were around to see it. Yeah. So from the Combine, OU specifically, nothing really jumped out except Kyler is as tall as he said he was, and Rodney Anderson was very strong on bench. But outside of that, I mean, Justice Hill made a boatload of money, and now we're talking about 2 kids, not just from Tulsa, but from the Tulsa public school system that could be the first 2 running backs off the board. I'm fired up about that. Yeah.
Obviously, with Jacobs and all that, and like I said, Justice with his performance. Jordan Brailford, again, another TPS guy. He's not going to be a first-round pick, but he showed some nice things there too. That's a good point. I hadn't looked at that angle of it either about local TPS kids doing that.
I'm selfishly, RJ, I would love to have seen Kyler throw and run just because it would have been awesome TV.
Right.
They put a tape measure up against him. Everybody throws a fit because he's 5'10" and 1/8 inches tall instead of 5'9" and 7/8 inches tall, which I think is kind of silly. But be that as it may, he kind of stole the weekend without doing anything in regard to working out. I hope he throws at the pro day next week. I don't even know that he has to. I mean, he's already. As improbable as the whole Baker Mayfield story was, RJ, Kyler is right there at that same level of improbability. I mean, the night in Lubbock when Kingsbury said, if I was an NFL team, I would not hesitate to draft this man in the first round. And 4 months later, he's in a position to do it with the first pick. Unbelievable. I mean, another 30 for 30 caliber storyline at the OU quarterback position.
Well, with Kyler, it's a bit different, right? Because Baker's a guy that's chippy because he had to be from jump. Kyler's a guy that doesn't necessarily know what it means to lose a whole lot, and you saw him not do well with the 2 losses that he did have. Like, those would be the questions that I asked him in the interview portions of this. Got to talk with Corey Hilliard on Fight Me's producer of the show about, just going through interviews. And that would have been what I would have put to Kyler because you're not going to see him throw. So, yeah, you're going to challenge his competitiveness, and he's gonna wink at you. But if you asked him, man, we saw you come apart after those losses against Texas and Alabama when you were supposed to be leading this team to a national championship, how you handling that, right? And then when you talk about the 30 for 30, I think the part that gets missed in all of this is Cliff Kingsbury got fired up into a head coaching job in the NFL without any NFL experience. That is the 30 for 30. It ain't Kyler. Yeah. It's the guy who got fired from Tech, who took an offensive coordinator job for a month, and then ends up in Arizona with the opportunity to take the guy that probably is the best candidate in the entire league to run his offense. I don't even think he would take Pat Mahomes. And that's really interesting to me because he had that guy. I don't even think he would take Baker Mayfield because he had that guy, because he's got an opportunity to get Kyler Murray, because that dude would make that air raid hum.
Good stuff, man. Hey, we'll chat with you tomorrow.
All right, fellas. I appreciate you. Thanks,
Excellent.
Bill.
Thanks for filling in. RJ Young, OUinsider.com.